In May, I read 25 books. I think I'm back. Welcome back to Reading Sprints and Chai Sips. I'm your girl Sasha Bonet. You can just call me Sasha. And I was in a reading slump for so long I didn't think I'd ever get out. I thought it was a chop for me. I thought I was a goner. But anyway, I did read 25 books and I enjoyed a lot of the books that I read, but we had some duds as well. And I went to the library a lot. I did. I'm supposed to be reading my physical TBR, but I went to the library a whole lot. And I think, in all honesty, that helped me out of my reading slump. So we're doing something different with this one. I have some stats here. We're going to talk about the DNFs. We're going to talk about the unholds and the books I physically read off my shelves. We're going to talk about it all. Let's get into it. First up, we have library books. Now, I'm not going to go into any deep detail as to anything in particular about these books because they are in videos that have already come out. If you want, you can click them down below. I think I can put them down below, or I'll put them in a card. And you can just check them out. These are all the library books that I read in the month of May. And I can say it was a roller coaster of a time. I think my most surprising one is My Heart is a Chainsaw because I did not like it. Another surprising one was Our Wives Under the Sea because it was really heavy on body horror. And with that book, I realized things that I don't want to read. Even though I enjoyed this book, after the pieces of it that just icked me out. But these are the books that I got from the library, and I would recommend most of them. Let's talk about audiobooks. Now, I only listened to one audiobook without any other material. So just audio, no book in hand, no ebook in hand, just audio. And that was Savage Hearts by J.T. Geisinger. This is the third book in a series that I'm just listening to on audio. It's funny, it's interesting. The men are always huge. This is the mob. The women are usually, at least in these three books, they don't know what the hell is going on until it happens. This one is the FMC is the sister of the woman in the second book. Yeah, the woman in the second book. So that was fun. I enjoyed it. I do recommend the series if you like J.T. Geisinger and you like romance, a lot of smut, mob, women being kidnapped. Yeah, and different accents. Because, again, it's an audiobook, so you have the Irish mob, you have the Russian mob. I think there's another one, don't give me the line, but these men and women are a mess, but they're putty for their women. Moving on. Next, we are going to discuss Kindle books. With the Kindle books, I am, again, not going to discuss these Kindle books in any detail, really, because these books I've read for my Southern Hearts and Signed Kisses video, and that video is not yet out, but it will come out after this, sometime after this video. But in October, I'm going to Southern Hearts and Signed Kisses. It is a indie book event with Black authors. Love them so much from doing that. And this will be my second year attending. I had a great time last year. I bought so many books last year. And I'm hoping to have a great time and to buy just as many books possibly. And for these videos, for the Southern Hearts and Signed Kisses authors, I'm reading a lot more authors that I know are going to be at the event. Last year, I did not do that. I went and just blindly went around, sometimes picking up books and things like that. But this year, I want to go into it with a more methodical mind. I want to pick up books that I'm reading on Kindle that I actually like, and these are authors, most of them that I have never read from. There are a good handful that I have, and during these Southern Hearts and Sign Kisses videos, I am finding new authors that I like, putting new authors on my auto buy list. I am finding authors that, ooh, their writing just does not sit with me. So just in case I go to Southern Hearts and Sign Kisses in October, I don't want to pick up a book that I know I'm going to hate. Therefore, giving bad reviews unnecessarily because I should have done my homework, and things like that. I want to read books that I know are going to be good. Sometimes you don't really know that. You can't really tell that all the time. But that's what I'm trying my best to do. Also, Karen from Between Paperback Worlds is also doing this. She's ahead of me because she wasn't in a slump. I was in a slump, so my videos are a lot behind. I'm like 2 videos behind her. But that's neither here nor there. I do suggest going into your book events with a little bit of a plan, just a little bit. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I do know that Malice and Matrimony by Lakia has 2 books in a series, but it is 6 books that are interconnected. They're not a series, but there's 6 books that are interconnected, and I definitely am going to read that. But Lakia is an author that I have read from before I started delving deeper into these videos and these authors. Let's talk about the books that I DNF'd. As you can see, I DNF'd My Heart is a Chainsaw. Now, I talked about it a little bit in the video, in the library video, but I'll say a little bit more. My Heart is a Chainsaw is about a girl named Jade who lives close enough, I guess, to a reservation, but we're completely and totally in Jade's head for the entire book, I believe. There's no other POVs. We're completely in Jade's head, and she constantly says things like, this is the part where Jason will kill the final girl, or go after the final girl, or this is the part where Freddy slashes, or this is the part where the final girl says this. It gets to be annoying, and I had to DNF. And plus, I don't know if I didn't like it because of the little audio player that I got, because the little audio player for that one was a little wonky. So I might return to My Heart is a Chainsaw one day, because I don't know, it kept repeating itself, and I was like, how long is this damn book? But I think it could have been the player. But let's talk about the physical DNFs. Okay, so I have 3 physical DNFs. I'm gonna start with Costo, Blackfeet, Twin Captures an Elk Dog by Kenneth Tamasma and Jack Brower. I DNF'd this book because I felt completely icky reading it. And I read the preface of this book, the preface of this book, how the author talks about how he went to speak to and, interview and talk to some people that were left in this tribe. And I'm wondering if he asked one important question. What would they like for us on the outside to call them? Because the word Indian is used so many times in the first couple of pages that I read, because I didn't get that far. I got like 3 pages in, and I just was like, why are we calling them Indians in America? Not in India, but in America, why are we calling them Indians? It made me feel so gross, so I couldn't continue, but I really want to know that, and this just wasn't it for me, so DNF. Next, we have Mylea Simone's Once We Were Wicked, Marked by Magic, Book 1. I got about 2 chapters in. or 1.5 chapters. Let's say 1.5 chapters, and it doesn't really matter because I DNF'd. I DNF'd this book because this book needed some editing badly. And I don't think it's because it's an indie book, because indie books and indie authors can be on their game. But this needed to go through a couple of editors before it was put out. The writing in this was choppy. Very, very, very choppy. 1 minute I was reading and the mother was on the ground with the soldiers like on her back. And then without any in between, she was then standing next to, not the mother, the aunt was on the ground. And then in the next scene, not next scene, but in the next like paragraph underneath, she was standing next to her nieces. And I was just so confused. I'm like, how did we get here? How did she get from point A to point B and we didn't see it happen? Or not, it was just weird. And I just couldn't read it. It was hurting my head to read it. So I asked someone else if they saw what I saw, and I gave them the book and I just said, read this. Does that make sense? And they were like, no. I said, okay, so it's not just me. So this one has to be DNF'd. Next we have Zadie Smith, Swing Time. Now in this one, I read part 1. And part 1 was a good chunk of this book. And I gave it that because this is my first Zadie Smith book. Maybe it's not the right one that I chose, but this is the book that I ended up with. And I didn't like it. Part 1, like, I don't know what the point of this book is. That's number 1. After reading all of part 1, that I don't understand. However, reading the prologue of this book got me to thinking that it was a white-black thing, and because of something she says twice in the prologue about a friend of hers that we get to meet in part 1 of this book, being her mother was white, and then she said something to, I guess, a boyfriend that's next to her about a race issue, and I'm just like, I'm tired. And Zadie Smith, from what I understand, is a very good writer. She tells great stories from what I understand. Maybe this just wasn't my taste, but I, 1, didn't care for either character. I found part 1 to be very boring. There was nothing catching my attention. And 3, I'm starting to realize that a lot of the books that I seem to pick up that are written by Black British women are steeped with hatred of themselves, the way they look, the way their hair is, texturism, colorism. It's a lot of isms in their writing. I have yet to read one that's just, I'm happy. And I need to find that. That is what I need to find. If you have recommendations by a Black British woman as an author, let me know that has all of that in it, because this wasn't it, and I wasn't enjoying it. Let's get into the books that I actually read from my TBR. First up is A Last One to Die by Cynthia Murphy. I read one other book by Cynthia Murphy, The Midnight Game by Cynthia Murphy. I read this one and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I think I gave this one 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it. But with Last One to Die, this one is same as the last one, a paranormal YA thriller, mystery, horror kind of book. It's about a young girl from Ireland who goes to London for a summer program, and she runs into, on her first day there, a dead body. And it was after she switched rooms with someone, and the person who took her room died, was killed, was murdered. And things like that keep happening to her. People around her keep getting hurt. And it turns out that there is some lore in London that she's running into that she seems to not be able to escape. And everyone is a little iffy. Everyone is a little untrustworthy. Everyone gives you bad vibes. And this girl does not want to go back to Ireland because the little village that she comes from is boring. She's ready to spread out. She's ready to, it's not a writing program, it's an acting program. She's ready to act. So yeah, this one I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Next is The Guild by Felicia Day and Jim Rugg. This is a graphic novel, video games, kind of RPG kind of thing. And I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. It is in color. And I got this one for free at my local library. It was being given away, and I said, I've never heard of it. I've never read it. Let me see. I am going to give this book a 3.5, 4 stars. This was funny. I enjoyed the fact that she is going to counseling. She is in an insufferable relationship with a man who basically loves himself but likes to have sex with her. Basically, that's it. She is a doormat for that man, and she turns to her video game community, and she flourishes. But there are scenes in this book with her therapist that are hilarious. And I was like, I feel seen, because sometimes your therapist can irritate the shit out of you, but they be telling the truth. Next is Sister Sister by Eric Jerome Dickey. This is actually Eric Jerome Dickey's debut novel, and I didn't know that until I wanted to read it. I knew I bought it, but I mean, like, you know, did I know at the time? No. But it's about 3 women, all, this is set in the 90s too, the mid to late 90s. And the dialogue is reflected in that. The clothing is reflected in that. The club scene. Everything is reflecting in that 90s vibe, which made this book fun. But these 3 women, 2 of them are sisters, and the other one happens to meet one of them because they're sleeping with the same man. But you have one that is married, has been for a while, and she's unhappy because she doesn't feel heard, seen, and she feels overlooked in her marriage. It seems like her husband does not like her anymore, and she's trying to do different things to get him to see her. And one day she makes a decision, and it all goes from there. The other 2, one is really young, and she's dealing with the man, and she doesn't know how to fully deal with him because all she's ever seen is her mother go through bad relationships. And the other one who is dealing with the same man, she's been married before, she's been hurt before, so she knows not to give her heart away too easily. However, she also gets hurt very easily. This book was entertaining. If nothing more, this book was entertaining. I'm going to give it 4 stars. 4 stars. Okay, I read Henry VI, Part 1 and Part 2. I will be continuing to Part 3. The month is just over, so it'll fall into probably June when I read Part 3. But I did read Part 1 and Part 2. It is just the war with France, that, not a war, but the battle with France, who they're marrying. These books, like, William Shakespeare is very dramatic. And it's crazy because reading a play is not the same as watching a play. Because their deaths are so dramatic. They'll say their full government name while they're dying. Like, I've taken my last breath. Like, we can see that, sir. You don't have to tell us. But it is enjoyable. Part 1 also has Joan of Arc in it, which I enjoyed reading. Joan of Arc being made into a person not of mental illness, but one of sound mind. I enjoyed it. Next, we have Some Other Now by Sarah Everett. And this is about a young girl who is best friends with this boy who has a brother. They met when they were like 5, 6, 7 years old. They've been friends ever since. And her whole life is revolved around their family, because hers is kind of dysfunctional in the way that her mother has, I want to say, some form of depression and probably bipolar disorder, which is not spoken about in this book. It's just she has something that is never really given a name to except for depression. And for me, being a mental health counselor, almost almost, being there with my schooling, there's something more going on, but it's not given a name to. So her mother is always in the bed, and she's been like that since our main character was little. So postpartum depression morphed into more. And so her father is always paying attention to the mother, never really giving any attention to their daughter. So she found a friend who had a mother and a brother, and that has become her family until she starts feeling feelings for the brother that's not her best friend. And everything kind of just breaks apart from there, because these are teenagers. This is a YA contemporary drama. There is mental illness in here. There is death in here. There is alcohol use in here. Some drug use, just a little bit in here. There are heavy topics in here, and it is an okay book. I'm going to give it a 3, but I do not like books that continually say things like, I messed up everything, and you don't know what they messed up, and they never tell you what they messed up until, like, let's say 75% of the book. And by that time, you've already either figured it out or don't care anymore. That's where I am. That's how I feel about these kind of books. However, I do think that for a YA audience, this would be a good book. Next up, we have Goddess in the Machine by Laura Beth Johnson. This is a YA sci-fi book. And again, I'm going to give this one a 3. I know the issue that I had with this book. There is a different language going on here in this book. And the characters actually speak in that language. It's like broken English, but let's say thousands of years in the future. And it got to be ridiculously implanted in my brain that I don't like this. So, and it's not the actual book, because the story was fine. And this book is a part of a duology. I'm not going to continue it. But this story is about a young girl. I think they're a couple of years ahead of us where we are now in 2025. I can't remember the exact year, but they are planning, Earth for the most part, is planning for a voyage into space. Because Earth is falling apart, as it usually is, as it is right now. Earth is falling apart, and everyone is preparing to get into pods and go into space. However, she wakes up and she's on a different planet, or she's somewhere she's not supposed to be, and figures out that her family, everyone that she got into these pods with, are long gone, because she's woken up like thousands of years after them. Good premise. That language in it is not good. Next, we have Vladimir by Julia May Jonas. This book was so ridiculous. I didn't like it. I am not a fan of literary fiction, and I think the reason can be planted into this book. A woman who speaks a lot of drivel, people who think they're smarter than what they are, doing things they think are better than what they are for the sake of just looking and presentation of it all. Because the main character in this book doesn't say anything about anything. She doesn't give any credence, any heft, any weight, any measure to anything that she says. She talks about parenthood, but doesn't give any leverage to it. She talks about marriage, doesn't give any leverage to it. In my opinion, she's just a woman who got in a relationship and married a man who knew what he wanted, and because he knew, she thought she knew as well. This book, I'm giving it a 2. Next, we have Terms of Love by Mel Dow. I gave this book a 4. This is marriage of convenience, and they fall in love. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this one. Alistair he comes from money, and he's not an ass, but he dibbles and dabbles in the women's. He dibbles and dabbles in the women's. And our FMC, her family life ain't worth a damn. So she's acted like her family didn't exist. And she already had a fiance. And one day her dad calls her up and says, hey, we're about to lose the farm. I need your help. I need you to marry him so his daddy will not take our farm. And everything goes from there. There are so many reveals in this book, and it's not even a long read. It was a good time. It was a good time. Next up, we have Mr. Jeweler by Beloved. This is a reread for me. I first read this book when on my Kindle. I first read this book on Kindle, and I enjoyed it so much that I started to buy the series. This is the 3rd one in the series, and this one is annotated. I just annotated it during the reread, and I enjoyed this book so much. We have Elite and Denali as our FMC and our MMC. Elite is a jeweler, and he's a jeweler to the stars, to the community, to everyone. And because he likes to design jewelry, he's like that since he was a child, where his father used to give him and his brother jewels, bracelets, chains, everything with jewelry and everything like that. So it's his craft. He loves what he does. He is married to a woman who they're not seeing eye to eye. They're not arguing. They're not fighting. He provides for her. He loves her, but their souls are not clicking at the moment. And we find out that she's on the side cheating. And then you have Denali, who is our main FMC, and she got a baby daddy who ain't worth a damn. He treats her like shit, and she's trying to keep him with their kids for the sake of the kids, because her family life wasn't a good one, and she doesn't want her kids to be in a bad situation. So we go through 4 different people, because 4 different POVs are in here, and it's wild. There are reveals. There is a loss of a child in this book, and some DV in this book. So I would caution you to be careful. However, I love this book. Elite is top tier book material, just for the simple fact that he's accountable. He holds himself accountable. He asks other people, what should I do in this situation? Am I bugging out? Am I crazy? Yeah, you are. You fucking up? Oh, okay, I'm fucking up. He's accountable. This man right here. Accountable. Elite. Elite the accountable. There you go. Yeah. Now, the next book is I Want You Here by Monica Walters. This book also is a reread. This is the 6th book in the Barot family, and it is also annotated. And I love Monica Walters down. I love that this couple got it together. However, I don't like the dynamic of this couple. Let me explain. We have Chad, who is one of Mr. Barot's sons, and then we have Lexi. And these families are coming together quickly. Lexi's sister is married to one of his brothers, and that's how she's come into the fold of the family. And Chad is just a big old cute dog who likes to have a good time. However, in Lexi, he sees Janae, a girl that he used to date, and because they to him they look uncannily similar, and he's still holding on to a lot of pain from when his mother passed away, and Janae did something to him when they were in college. So he's holding on to two separate pains and trauma that he's projecting onto Lexi 85% of this book. And he plays in her face and then says, I'm sorry. And she forgives him. He plays in her face, then says, I'm sorry, and she forgives him. And she keeps trying to not forgive him. But when a person is constantly in your face, sometimes you give up on the I don't want you around kind of thing, and you just give in. And that's what kept happening. And even his brother, Isaiah, who I love to death, I didn't like Isaiah's relationship either when I read their book. His brother keeps saying, you have to fix you, talking to Chad, before you go jumping in that girl face every 5 seconds, talking about you sorry and you could fix it. You can't fix shit until you fix you, period. Isaiah, period. He should have took his own advice, but period. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.5. I'm still going to continue the series, and Monica Walters eats down. And I want to know what's going on with Shavaz and DJ. So I'm getting there. But this one right here, 3.5. Next, I read Redeemed by Lauren Asher. This finishes the series for me. I'm so proud of myself. I read this one, and I'm actually going to take back some of my words. Because I read the first one and I enjoyed it. The second and the third just seems like repeat of the first book. And then I read this one. This series was on the verge of being unhauled, simply because, again, the second and the third books just seems like copy and repeat. Just add new names and a little sprinkle of something different, and then they're different. But this one deals with a big traumatic event. Traumatic. Yeah, I said it right. A big traumatic event that happens to Santiago. And if you've read the books, Santiago, aka Santi, is the brother of Maya from the first book. Maya marries Noah in the first book. And so now Maya and Noah are together, and Santiago is still in the F1 racing scene with Bandini. He meets Chloe because Chloe tries to break into his home. I'm not going to tell you why. You have to read the book for that. But she tries to break into his house, and that's how them two meet. But Santi is going through some things that has happened 3 years ago. And he's been kind of like a recluse in his home. And then it turns into fake dating. And then it turns into a whole lot of other things. And I like this book because there was more here. There was more going on here. I was entertained. Last but not least of the books that I read from my physical TBR is Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. 5 stars. 5 stars. I didn't think I would like this book as much as I did, but I did. And the moment I closed this book, I went and pre-ordered the second one. Because what do you mean? This was so damn good. This has readability and everything. So let me tell you what it's about. Our FMC, because I can't remember nobody's names, y'all, so don't be asking me what people's names are, because I don't know. Our FMC is a nurse, and our MMC is a thirst-trapping TikToker who wears a mask and is covered in blood, nice body, and that's it. And because you horny heifers love to see a half-naked man without a shirt, and you be like, oh, y'all be in them comments acting like diabolical wolves. He's TikTok famous. He's TikTok famous. And our FMC thirst traps, or is thirsty in his comments on his TikTok. And things just go from there. But I would say, outside of his mask, he is the most cinnamon roll. He's a cinnamon roll. He is a cinnamon roll. When he need to be, oh, he on that ass. but not in the way that you think. He uses his mind over his brawn, and I love it because you look good for the sake of looking good, but you can also use your mind. I love it. This book, 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. Is it nonsensical in a lot of ways? Yes. But this was great. This was great. This reminds me of Haunting Adeline, right? But so much better. Because in Haunting Adeline, the author wants you to decipher what Adeline wants you to decipher what her kinks are yourself. Even though she's saying one thing out her mouth and thinking another thing, it's supposed to be dub con. And it's like, no, that's grape. Okay? Because he don't know that girl. He don't know what she likes. This right here, this is total consent. Total consent and total kinky fuckery. And I enjoyed it. So let's now talk about all the books that will be unhauled and up on my Pango for purchase. As soon as you see this video, head on over to Pango because they're already there. Obviously, Zadie Smith's Swing Time will be on there. Once We Were Wicked will be on there. This will not be on there. I don't know what to do with this book. Goddess in the Machine, like I said, I will not be continuing this series. So, no. And the language just, no, bothered me so much. Definitely this one gotta go. Some Other Now by Sarah Everett will be up there as well. Like I said, for an audience full of YA people, this would be a great book to read. But for me, it's out. I'm out of this age range of caring too much about any of this. Okay, so let's look at some stats. As you can see, novels. I read more novels than anything else, more than novellas, plays, or anything else. Novels are usually what I read the most of, just as well as BIPOC representation is what I read the most of, with BIPOC authors and BIPOC characters. I'm trying to diversify and read more sapphic and more gay and lesbian fiction, more mental health fiction, more, I'm just trying to diversify, period. But BIPOC is my bread and butter. That is what I like to read. And as you can see, I read so far, this is not just in May. This is for up till, from January till May. I'm reading my physical TBR and I'm so happy about it because that was one of my biggest goals for this year, was to read my physical TBR more than anything else. I was a little afraid that that wasn't going to be the case since I was in a reading slump and I was going to the library a lot more, but my stats don't lie. So yeah, I've had a great time reading from my physical TBR. So that's everything that I've read in the month of May. I had a good reading month. It was a little hectic. But I had a good reading month. Let me know what you've read in the comments below. How many books you've read this month. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100. However many you read. Kudos to you. And I will definitely see you in the next one. There are some big things coming up. And I hope I can get the things done that I want to get done to share with you all. But that's all I have. And if you've made it this far in the video, just put the stack of books emoji, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.